Good morning, everyone. I just got in from mowing outside. Our adventure starts really soon, so we're getting the final touches done. And I just wanted to kind of follow up on some of the thoughts and things I've been talking about. And I was thinking about this interesting situation where uh, have you ever tried to swat a fly in midair? It's just about impossible. You know, if they're sitting still on something, it's it's not a big problem. You can do it. It's not that easy sometimes. But what happens is your eyes are, there's a time delay between the time your eyes pick up something, the time your brain processes. So what your brain does is it makes a estimate on what is going to be happening in the future because that's what you've got to go on. So what happens is like if somebody throws you a baseball, it's very predictable and you can reach out and grab that thing out of midair and it's really amazing when you think about that. But on a fly it's different because a fly is it's unpredictable. You're you can't judge where it's going to be because it's going zigzag, wiggly, wobbly everywhere but not in a straight line, not in a circle, not in an arch, not in anything you can predict. So when you swatted that fly in the air, you're swatting at a fly that you see at a certain spot, but the fly is not there. The fly has never been there. The fly is not going to go there, but that's where your brain said it should be. And that's why you can never hit the fly unless it's just a fluke accident. But you can't figure that out. And your brain does that all the time. You're always making a guess to what's happening, what you see, what you hear, what you taste, all those things. They're all a prediction. It your brain's best guess. And if we look at a photon coming from the sun, those are particles of light, right? Photons. But as they leave the sun and get here, they are a wave in an energy field. Uh, that's the light is a wave like is in the ocean until a consciousness looks at it, and then it becomes a photon. And that's not new age woo woo stuff. That's hard science. I mean, that's our best ability to figure out what's happening. The particles only become particles when you observe them, and it's been shown in many experiments. So it's our best estimate on what's going on. And I'm trying not to say that's our scientific fact because there is just no such thing. So the interesting part of that is that photons becoming a solid object out of a wave is exactly the same thing that happens to everything. Everything is a wave of energy that a consciousness makes it solid. Sounds pretty freaky, but that is what quantum physics is all about. The weird stuff. It's happening weird. And what happens in science is there's a gap between conventional science of solid objects in space time and the gap to quantum. And this gap is a part of something that is unacceptable in people's minds. They can't bridge that gap is the problem. Because what that gap is consciousness. Your consciousness is taking something from a wave of energy and turning it into a solid mass. Now, take one more step with me. You ready? Space-time is where all solid objects exist. And relativity is a little freaky too. You know, relativity shows that space-time can be bent and distorted by speed and by massive objects. You are also physical. You you exist in space-time. And by existing in space-time, you are created by consciousness. For an object to become physical, to exist in space-time, consciousness has to observe it, make a measurement, as scientists say. And just observing it is making a measurement. Some form of consciousness has to make a measurement on that energy field for an object to become physical. You buy that? That's what our science says. Go check it out. Really, go check it out. The problem is that, like I was saying, is scientists aren't willing to bridge that gap between the energy fields and the physical world. They're not willing to bridge that with consciousness. They are looking hard for anything that can make an explanation because they do not know what consciousness is. They have no clue at all. There is no scientific literature that anyone has shown me anyway, and I've looked. There's nothing explaining what consciousness is. There aren't even any guesses. There are some guesses on what life is, but it's out there too. We just don't know what life is. Why is all this worth thinking about? Because if this is the way the world works, as I just described it, the energy fields are converted into matter by consciousness. That means that consciousness had to be, at the very beginning, a conscious thing, a consciousness, had to have an effect, take a measurement, and space-time began. So you exist as an energy field. It's just like all the woo-woo stuff, people try to say, and it is so hard to bridge the gap between science and woo-woo. It's like using the word God. People have such misconceptions of what God is, and they're willing to fight to the death over their version of it, which they have no idea what, they don't have a definition. They have a vague understanding in their own mind, and whatever that is, it's different from the other guy, and they're willing to go to war over it. It's happened all through history. So that opens the door for spiritual world. There are things in this world that are not physical, but exist and have a different type of consciousness and exist in a different realm. They don't exist in space-time. Space-time is is a realm that we create to, to have this physical existence. And we're having this physical existence for a reason. There's purpose to it. The universe isn't out there doing crazy stuff. It never wastes time, it never wastes energy, whatever those things are. So you're not wasted time, you're not wasted energy, you are here doing something. I'll get to what that is as we go on. But can you open your mind enough to do some research on that? Where physical particles come from? And you can't just look at one source. You have to look at many, many different sources and try to congeal a understanding, because that's not solid either. Okay, so craziness. And there is very, very deep meaning, and everybody needs to understand, at least in their own mind, what's happening. Put out effort